Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jake. To the left of me is Justin Alter. I'm Jake Cardinale. This is the first episode of Jake and Justin in the morning. We're going to be a sports talk show starting every Saturday morning, and I'll let Justin explain the rest.
All right, so hi everybody. As you could tell from that really descriptive introduction by Jake, I am Justin Alter. I'm a dashing man, of course. Do you guys like my beard? Jake, do you like my beard?
I do like it. I actually just saved like a couple hours ago, so you see, I got nothing.
You had hair?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just say something. Justin, I don't have as much of a beard as Justin, so like when I shave, he's like, "Dude, you don't got nothing." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I got scruff."
Yeah, my beard is like luscious locks.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My beard's not as impressive as yours. I'm very sorry.
James Harden has nothing on my beard.
No, he doesn't.
But anyway, this is going to be, we're going to talk some sports. We're going to have a good time, a lot of laughs. It's going to be a great way to start off your morning. We're going to be doing, it's kind of lean more towards basketball, but we'll also be doing, football and baseball as well. And, we got a lot of stuff getting ahead of us. It's going to be about 30 to 45 minutes every Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. So once you wake up, listen to Jake and Justin in the morning. So, Jake, let's get started.
All right, let's start with the NFL head coach hires. Of course, Justin and I are part of the Shoe Sports Media Club. By the way, follow them on Instagram. We run the social media. In our latest podcast, we went over some of the head coach hirings, only a couple. So I figured let's do the rest in our own talk show. So let's start with the Houston Texans, of course, fired Bill O'Brien.
Skip it. No, I want to skip. No.
We gotta do it. All right, they fired.
It hurts. This is painful.
I know it hurts. We gotta do it. They fired Bill O'Brien week 4. Romeo Crennel was the interim at 4-12, and they hired the Ravens passing game coordinator and assistant head coach David Culley as the next head coach. Now I'm gonna go with Justin first to see what he thinks about this.
Okay. My biggest problem isn't necessarily who they selected, it's who they selected over. They had such many good options to pick from, one of which was Eric Bieniemy, which for our viewers at home, if you don't know who he is the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. So you're telling me that the Houston Texans decided, instead of picking one of the man who coached one of the greatest offenses in the league, coaching Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, decided to go for the guy who coached Lamar Jackson, who's a glorified, overpaid running back? I mean, what do you do, David Culley? What do you do other than stand there?
Okay.
What are the Texans thinking?
Yeah, I agree. First of all, they chose him over Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy, that was a top head coach candidate. It's a joke. He's not a head coach already. Also, this guy's not even that good of a coach. This guy's never been a coordinator. I think it was 2013. The Kansas City Chiefs receivers had 0 touchdowns. Guess who the wide receivers coach was? David Culley. I mean, the guy. First of all, this Texas team is going into a rebuild. They're going to have to trade Deshaun Watson. J.J. Watt they just cut. They traded Hopkins last year in one of the worst trades ever. The guy's 65 years old. He's not a long-term answer for anybody. And for a team that's rebuilding, that's just silly. Honestly, I don't see him lasting more than 2 years. He's never been a coordinator. He's not even that good of a wide receivers coach. I mean, John Harbaugh, yes, he's a great coach, but you think of his coaching tree, the only guy I know of that was ever coached under him, I believe, is Rex Ryan. I mean, Rex Ryan, yes, he's fiery, he's a good guy, but not a very good head coach. I mean, I'm sorry. I thought this was one of the worst head coach hirings since Adam Gase was hired by Miami back in 2016 and the Jets again somehow in 2018. I said he lasts 2 years at most.
That's all I have to say.
Yep. All right, moving on. Let's go with the Atlanta Falcons, who fired Dan Quinn, thankfully, and are starting off 0-5. The interim head coach was Raheem Morris, their defensive coordinator. They decided to hire Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. So, Justin, what do you think about this hire?
I'm excited for this one because this is the offensive coordinator of the Titans who had an absolute standout season this year. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, they played incredibly well this year, and I think that has a lot of contribution to do with Arthur Smith. But, Jake, do you realize where Arthur Smith is going?
I do.
He is going to the Atlanta Falcons, the team that is the home of the Chokers.
It is.
I want to see them succeed. I really hope that Arthur Smith can help break the dynasty of the Falcons just choking horrendously.
Yeah, that is true, but in all seriousness, I thought it was a very good hire. He did a very good job as offensive coordinator the last 2 years for the Tennessee Titans. By the way, Mike Vrabel is an excellent coach. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the league. I think he can argue he's a top 5 head coach in the league. An excellent coach. Arthur Smith's a great play caller. Obviously Mike Vrabel being a defensive guy had to lean on him to be the play caller. He turned Ryan Tannehill, who was a disappointment in Miami, into a top 10 quarterback. With the run and shoot offense with Derrick Henry just pounded it down people's throat. He's always mixing up play calls, kept defenses guessing. He's got plenty of firepower in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, who's still a very good quarterback, and Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. He's got a very good offense. The real problem for Atlanta the last 2 years, I thought, has been the coaching. They've had the players. They definitely need to make some adjustments on the defensive side of the ball. But I want to remind you, he brought in the former defensive coordinator when he was there 2 years ago, Dean Pease, who's a great defensive coordinator, been around a long time as their defensive coordinator. Atlanta makes a couple of moves to improve their defense this offseason. I think they could be in a very good position in the division. It could be up for grabs. The Saints, lose a couple pieces, including on the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, Drew Brees. They could be taking a step back. Tom Brady's not getting any younger. He's going to be 44. He's like 6 years older, 6 years younger than my dad. And they could lose some pieces. And the Carolina Panthers, I don't think are a playoff team yet. Atlanta could be a sleeper in that division. So I thought it was a very good hire. All right. Moving on, let's go to the Detroit Lions. They hired the Saints tight ends coach / assistant head coach Dan Campbell. This is an interesting one. Justin, I'll start with you. What do you think about this one?
I'm not really sure what I think about it, but I guess I'm going to have to say this. If his coaching is just as good as his speech was, I'm sold. For those who don't know what his speech was, he basically said that we're going to bite the kneecaps off of people. Yeah. So that's a really interesting play if Dan Campbell's going to make that move. Imagine if they're playing against Washington and Alex Smith is in the pocket and they just run at his break and bite his kneecap off. Well, that's a whole 17 surgeries wasted right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so some people be like, Dan Campbell, who the heck is this? Okay, this is his background. He was a player in the league. Wasn't a great player, but, he hung around. I believe he did win a Super Bowl as a player. He was the tight ends coach for the Miami Dolphins for 5 years, was their interim head coach in 2015 when they fired Joe Philbin. Considering the circumstances, I thought he was decent. After the year, they decided not to bring him back. He was hired by Sean Payton to be his tight ends coach and assistant head coach, where he's been the last 5 years. I thought he's done a good job. Saints have had some good tight ends, over the years that, before they came to the Saints weren't great and have played well. He came in, they'd recently gotten rid of Jimmy Graham. Ben Watson, who had a career at 35 there. Josh Hill's had some good moments. Jared Cook the last couple of years, was never a great player, and he had 2 very good years with the New Orleans Saints. Clearly they trusted him to make the assistant head coach, upon arrival in 2016. He's been there 5 years. You've been Sean Payton's, assistant for the last 5 years. Of course, Sean Payton's a great coach, had a lot of success there, especially recently. The last few years, Saints have been a Super Bowl contender. Just gotten a little unlucky in the playoffs with the Minneapolis Miracle, and then the no call and passing interference, and ran into Tom Brady, and the Bucks, and also the lot. If I was to do his talk show back when the Lions, were looking for a new head coach, if they fired Matt Patricia, by the way, thank God they fired him. He was awful. The Lions needed a culture change. Nothing has gone right, really, ever for the Lions. Their team that's rebuilding. They trade staff for Jared Goff. That's definitely a downgrade. They're going younger at that position. All the receivers are free agents. Their defense has absolutely nothing. And they're headed for a rebuild, and this is definitely a culture change. So I do think this is a decent hire. It may not be a household name, but I think this could work. All right, so now let's move to Los Angeles Chargers. Fired Anthony Lynn after 4 seasons. They decided to hire Rams defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. Justin, what do you think about this hire?
Okay, I don't have much to say about this one. But except for 2 things. One, to be the defensive coordinator of the Rams says a lot, considering that they do have a lot of great defensive players like Aaron Donald. So him going to the Chargers, I really hope he could do just as well as he is on the Rams when he doesn't have such a powerhouse like Aaron Donald on his team. But let's also think of another thing. Imagine how awkward it's going to be when they have a home game against each other one year, where he could really be the same stadium, but it's like he's on a completely other side of the sideline. I waves to Sean McVay. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, that is weird. He went to a completely different team in a completely different conference, but he's playing in the same stadium. But this is one we're probably going to have to wait and see, because he was only defensive coordinator for 1 year. But he's been around for a little while. He was outside linebackers coach for the Broncos for a few years. Then we have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. He was big in the development of Bradley Chubb. And last year, he did an excellent job as the defensive coordinator of the Rams. A Rams team that their defense from the year before, when they had Wade Phillips, one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time, isn't that different. They had a couple of pieces. They brought in Leonard Floyd. They brought in Ashawn Robinson. Other than that, they didn't really bring in a lot of other pieces from the year before, and our defense was miles and miles better. Went from a league average unit to the number 1 unit in the league. They were number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. They limited Russell Wilson, that powerful Seahawks offense, to 13 points or something. Russell Wilson had 11 completions in that game. He had some great players, but still, Leonard Floyd was terrible in Chicago. He had a huge year last year. They got Troy Hill and Darius Williams and Jordan Fuller. He's former late-round picks in the last couple of years. Just have fantastic seasons. And the Chargers, their defense this year struggled. And, he's got some pieces there to work with. Joey Bosa, Kenneth Murray, Chris Harris, Derwin James coming back. So I think it's a good fit. He's got an offense. Justin Herbert, I think, looks like the best quarterback in the draft from last year. Now, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. So I think it's a very good hire. I think he's the right guy for the job.
Let's just hope they can kick well this year.
Yeah, let's hope they can get a kicker that knows what he's doing, because they have had kicking issues for as long as I can remember. All right, last but not least, well, kind of least, I'm not a huge fan of this guy. Philadelphia Eagles fired Doug Peterson after 5 seasons. He did win a Super Bowl and had a decent record there, but he also tanked the last game of the season, which cost the New York Giants a playoff spot by benching Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld, even though Hurts had 2 touchdowns in the game against one of the best defenses in the league, in the Washington Redskins. Yes, I still call them the Redskins. When they changed them officially, I will call them what they are. Every team's a football team. That's another story for another day. But they hired Colts offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni. Justin, what do you think about this one?
All right. I don't dislike this one, to be honest with you. Mostly because I thought that the Colts actually had a pretty good season last year. They didn't have a phenomenal one, but at least they kind of had a chance to make the playoffs. So if Nick Sirianni can kind of bring what he brought to the Colts, I hope he can bring it to the Eagles just as well, if not better. However, there's also some offensive issues. I don't really think Jalen Hurts is that great. But I think Philip Rivers is better than him. But that's about it. I'm not completely sold on him.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him either. He has had 3 different starting quarterbacks in 3 years as a coordinator. 2018, he had he had Andrew Luck in 2018. Luck had a very good season. 2019, Luck retires. A week before the season. That was shocking. Jacoby Brissett gets thrown in there. Before he got hurt, he was playing well. Then he hurt his ankle. He came back. They had some injuries. He struggled after that. You brought in Philip Rivers, who, of course, was a Hall of Fame caliber player with the Chargers. But, he was 38 years old, and his arm was not nearly the same, but still had a decent year. Had over 4,000 yards and over 25 touchdowns, I think, and only 10 interceptions. And the Colts did go 11-5 and had a very good offense. He is coming from Philly, and he is coming from the Colts, who comes to Frank Reich, who's connected to Philly. So, that's why Carson went straight to the Colts. But I just think a lot of the success for the Colts has really been Frank Reich. Not that Nick Sirianni hasn't been, responsible at all, but I think most of it has been Frank Reich. I don't think Sirianni has been that important to their success. And now he's got to work with, a very young quarterback, and Jalen Hurts, who's right now they got nothing at wide receiver. Their team is kind of stuck in the middle between, they're rebuilding, or they're going to retool, or they're going to try to contend. So I just don't think it's the right fit. I don't love this hire, but I guess we'll see what happens. All right, switching gears now to the National Basketball Association. First off, let's talk about the dumpster fire that is the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
Justin?
I got this one. Let me rock this. So there are literally only 3 teams in the Eastern Conference that are above 500, and that is the 76ers, unfortunately, the Nets, and the Bucks, unfortunately. I don't know what's going on with the East, but they're just seeming more trash than usual. I mean, I always thought that the West was always the better conference. But I want to highlight 2 teams in the East right now. We're going to start off with the Knicks, because currently the Knicks are 6th in the East, which is really, really good. If the season were to stop right now, they'd be in the playoffs. So I want to get your take on this.
Or the East, you're right, is never as good as the West. It has not been a great conference for a while. This year, it's might be at its lowest. You got the Boston Celtics, and you got teams like the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors, who may not even be 500 teams. I don't think either of them are 500 right now, and they're top 5 teams in the conference. I think the Pacers are a game over 500 or 500, and they're 4th in the conference. The conference is very bad, but I think the Knicks are trending in the right direction. They finally got the right coach in Tom Thibodeau. I've always loved him as a coach. He did a great job in Chicago. I thought in Minnesota it just wasn't the right fit. It wasn't all his fault. He got along with some of the players. He's a very aggressive coach. He's not for everyone. He'll sit you down. He doesn't like the way you're playing. That worked with some players. Some players, like Andrew Wiggins, like Karl-Anthony Towns. 2 guys that cannot play defense for their life. It doesn't work. So it just didn't work out. But for the Knicks, it's working. They give the starting lineup in 2 years. Emmanuel Quickley, R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. That's a pretty damn good starting lineup in 2 years. So I think they're trending in the right direction. I hope they make the playoffs this year, because I have not seen them in the playoffs in what seems like a lifetime. I think it's had to be at least 5-6 years at this point. And they'll probably get slapped in the first round, because they probably are going to be above 6, though you never know in the Eastern Conference. And if so, they'll probably end up playing, Philly, Brooklyn, or Milwaukee, who was probably going to slap them in the face. But I like what I see from my Knicks. They're trending in the right direction. And for the first time in over 2 decades, the New York Knicks have hope.
You couldn't have said it better. Really, you couldn't have that. That was just absolutely beautiful. You got to write a poem about that. I want to see that written down. Can you write a poem about Prime Rose as well?
About who?
About prime Derrick Rose?
Yes, I can. I read a poem about prime Derrick Rose and how the basketball gods robbed us of an all-time great.
Yes, they did. But now we're gonna move over to the next borough over, which is the Brooklyn Nets, to where in all purposes the Knicks are actually doing very, very well considering they've had a lot of years of failure. But the Nets, however, are just destroying. Let me just say something real quick before I continue. I have an issue with Jay-Z. And let me tell you what. When he was the owner of the Nets, he decided, hey, you know what? Let's take the Nets from my hometown of New Jersey, from my home state of New Jersey, the motherland, obviously, and let's move over to Brooklyn. So we now have no good team. You know, what's our best team? The Devils. So aside from having MetLife Stadium, the Devils, and the Shore, we have nothing. So Jay-Z, I'm gonna write a diss track about you in the upcoming weeks, and you're gonna respond to it, and you're not gonna win. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm like the greatest rapper in New Jersey by far. But anyway, the Nets are currently 22-12. They're on an 8-game win streak. They're actually playing tonight against the Mavericks, where I want to see James Harden wipe the smirk off of Luka Doncic's crybaby face. Anyway, do you think this team has a chance of making the finals?
I do think this team has a chance of making the finals. In fact, they're my pick to come out of the East. I mean, this team is on an 8-game win streak, and they've had Durant. I don't think Durant, Kyrie, and Harden play like 7 games together since Harden came to the team, and they're still, a top 2 or 3 team in the league. So, I would think, by playoff time, all 3 of those guys are healthy: Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Plus, you have Joe Harris, one of the best shooters in the league. They do not have Spencer Dinwiddie. He is out for the year. Trade Karis LeVert, they trade Jared Allen, but still, you have 3 superstars plus Joe Harris. DeAndre Jordan, who's also not what he once was, but he's still a great rebounder and a great rim protector. This team should be the favorite in the East. The Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis has not been as good as he has been in the regular season in the playoffs. I don't think they have enough around him, and the Sixers, they still have enough shooting. And I don't think they're good. I don't think they're good enough yet. I mean, a team that's 22-10 should not be the best team in the Eastern Conference. That's how bad this conference is. So my guess, the Bucks make it to the finals. And honestly, I might pick them to win it all. It's going to be tough if they play Utah or the Lakers, but especially if they end up playing like the Clippers or Nuggets or something, they could easily win the finals.
Wait, the Bucks?
No, I'm saying the Brooklyn Nets. I'm talking about.
Okay. I'm sorry. First time I heard you say the Bucks. I'm like, wait a second.
No.
Anyway, one thing that's really impressed me about the Nets is with the big 3, Harden, KD, and Kyrie. The real thing that impressed me is how quick they gel together. And then you have your weapons of Bruce Brown and Joe Harris, even Jeff Green, DeAndre Jordan. But they can all gel together very, very well. But like I said, especially those 3 superstars, it's impressed how all of them were very much known to kind of hold the ball to themselves, are now playing like an absolute unit. So you know what, Jay? I'm going to make a wager here.
All right.
If the Nets do not make the finals, I'm probably going to end up regretting this. If the Nets do not make the NBA Finals for the rest of the year, from when they get knocked out of the playoffs, I will wear a TB12 hat for the rest of the 2021 year.
Wow, that's a bold statement. All right, so
and if you guys don't know, as a Jets fan, I hate Tom Brady. I liked the Buccaneers before Tom Brady stepped into it because that's how much I hate him. So I will be wearing a TB12 cap every day for the rest of the year. So come August, when we come back to campus, You will see me with a TB12 cap on. Mom, get your credit card ready. We're probably going to need it.
Hopefully we won't, but I guess it is possible. All right, let's shift to the Western Conference, a team that...
Here we go, West Side. I love this one. So, as I said before, the West Side, obviously more superior. There are 8 teams who are over 500, unlike the East. East Side, West Side.
3.
Yeah, West Side. What do you mean? W?
Oh, I think it's in the East has 3. I got you.
Shout out to my dad for that one. But one team that's a really big standout here, which is one that I didn't even see coming, is the Utah Jazz. Right now, they are 26-6, which is the best record in the West and the best record in the NBA. They are 9. They won 9 out of their 10 games. So Jake, I want to pass this over to you. I want to hear your thoughts about the Jazz because I'm going to tell you, I did not see the Jazz doing this well.
Coming into the year, I thought the Jazz were a top 5 team in the West. I did not think they'd be first in the West. They have been extremely impressive. Donovan Mitchell is an absolute superstar. Rudy Gobert is a top 3 center in the league. He's an absolute star. Mike Conley didn't have a great year last year. Complete bounce back year this year. I thought there was an argument that could have been made for his all-star case. He has had an excellent year, averaging 16 points a game, playing great defense. You got Joe Ingles playing well, shooting the ball well, playing great defense. You got Bogdanovich, shooting the lights out. Jordan Clarkson's the best bench player in basketball. Quinn Snyder's the best coach in basketball, in my opinion. He should be coach of the year, I think, this year. I'll give him a slight edge over my boy Tom Thibodeau. He's an excellent coach. I mean, they're like 21-2 in the last 23 games. This team, there's nothing they can't do. Their ball movement is the best ball movement I've ever seen. They pass a lot of times. Even if they put up 150, 120 points, they might not have might only have like one guy over 20 points because they spread the ball so much. Their passing is incredible. They're a great scoring team. They have the best rated starting lineup in the NBA. They're great defensively. There's nothing they can't do. I think they come out of the West, honestly.
I would certainly agree with that. I could possibly see them going to the NBA Finals against the Nets. Once again, if the Nets don't make the finals, I will have to wear a tie. But now let's take it over to the side of things with the Jazz with the rise of the Jazz. There's also the fall of the Rockets. Now let me tell everybody at home a story here about what happened in Houston. I mean, there's absolutely no surprise that the Houston team just completely crumbled because that's just the Houston way. The Texans with Deshaun Watson, the Astros, and now the Houston Rockets were getting it too. It seems like only yesterday when they were number 1 in the West, going like 62 and something. It's a shame. But anyway, here's what happened. Mike D'Antoni, gone. Head coach, gone. They then hired Steven Silas because it was a compromise between Tillman Fertitta wanting Jeff Van Gundy and their franchise player at the time, James Harden, wanting Ty Lue. So Steven Silas was the pick. Then they get a power forward from Detroit named Christian Wood, who played very, very well at the beginning of the season. They traded John Wall for Russell Westbrook, and now Harden. Well, we all know where Harden is. He's on the Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie. Now the Rockets are on a 9-game loss streak. They are 14th in the West, which is absolutely horrendous. So who do you put more of the blame on? I want to put the blame more on the coach, Steven Silas, because I've watched a good amount of games of Steven Silas coaching. He doesn't do it. He just doesn't do it. One great thing about Mike D'Antoni is how aggressive he was. Whenever there was a foul on his team, even if it was completely wrong, he would go out there, he would scream for it, he would get angry about it, he would debate with the refs, challenge, challenge, challenge. Steven Silas just lets way too much slide, and that's a problem for me. But what do you think?
I agree. I don't think Steven Silas is a good coach. I did not get what. Well, I think D'Antoni kind of left on his own, but they were screwed a little bit because he's a very very good coach, Mike D'Antoni. The shame that he left. By the way, he's also in Brooklyn, so basically all the Houston Stars are now chilling in Brooklyn right now. D'Antoni and Harden are probably very happy they're not in Houston anymore. Anyway. You look at the guys they could have hired. They could have had Jeff Van Gundy, who has not coached in a long time, but honestly, I would take him. He's a great coach. He took the Knicks to the finals. He's an excellent coach. He's gotten a lot.
He also coached the Rockets before.
He did. He did. He knows the ownership. He's a great coach. They could have had you said Ty Lue, who's a very good coach. He's an underrated coach. He's a very good coach, doing a great job for the Los Angeles Clippers. He won a title in Cleveland. A lot of that was LeBron, but he had the off LeBron, which we all know is not easy. And he won a championship, overcame a 3-1 lead. And he even on their assistant coach, I think his name is John Lucas, his assistant who's been there for a long time, who all the players love. They could have hired him. They went Steven Silas, who has been around a while, who's been an assistant for a very long time. But I just don't see in him, I know they trade Harden, but, they still have, John Wall's having a great year. They have Victor Oladipo, who's basically, like one level below a superstar. When house they have Christian Wood, they have some other, decent bench pieces, but I don't see it. I think his team is headed for a long rebuild. John Wall's a great player, but Victor Oladipo's a great player in the last year of his contract. We'll see what happens to that. Christian Woods is a great player. Other than that, they don't have Daniel House is an okay player. I don't think he's much more than that. There's really nothing else Houston has. I say get rid of Silas, get a good young coach in there, and rebuild. They got a lot of draft picks.
Are the Rockets the new Knicks? Have they just became one of the most disrespected teams in the league?
I don't know about the Knicks level because that's a very, very high level of embarrassment and torture, but I don't expect them to be contending anytime soon for sure.
Yeah. But all right, so let's move on to the next thing. This week, every All-Star player has been announced. Captains, starters, reserves. Hit me, Jake. What do you think?
All right, I'm going to start with the Eastern Conference. Durant was the captain before.
Then we'll move over to the West.
Yep. Start with the East. Kevin Durant was the captain. He's no longer the captain anymore because he's injured. Jason Tatum was bumped to a star, which I agree with. Domantas Sabonis got in as a replacement, which I agree with. He had a great year. I thought the stars were pretty fair for the East. They had Bradley Beal, I thought definitely deserved it. He leads the league in points per game. Why he has not requested a trade, I have no clue. Why the heck he has not requested a trade. You got Joel Embiid, who I'm not a fan of. That being said, he is having an incredible season. He is an MVP frontliner, averaging 29 points a game, double-digit rebound. He's blocking shots. He's basically carrying the 76ers to the first place in the Eastern Conference. And then the other stars I thought were fine. Jason Tatum replacing Durant, I thought was fine. Giannis getting into starter. I'm not a huge fan of Giannis, but I did agree with that. I did like the Eastern Conference starters. I'm going to let Justin explain the Western Conference starters. There's one thing I know me and him do not agree with.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm just going to put that on the fake news area. But what I'll say is this. I think there were some players on the East that got snubbed in the reserves area. Like, for example, I thought Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo really did have an all-star season, and they should be at least in the reserves. I don't think they should be a starter, but definitely a reserve.
That's actually a good point. I thought Bam Adebayo should have got in over Nikola Vucevic. Nikola Vucevic is an excellent player. He's very underrated. He's had a great year. But Bam Adebayo is a proven superstar. He's been just as good as he always is this year. I would have put him in over Nikola Vucevic for sure.
All right. Now let's move over to the west side of things, to where I'm. I mean, can somebody please explain to me why LeBron is once again the All-Star captain? I mean, you know what? LeBron is almost one of those people to he always has to be involved. He's always like, "Oh, can I be the captain?" Dude, honestly, of every player in the West, do you really deserve to be the All-Star captain? Absolutely not. I also thought that Devin Booker, I know that he got subbed in as a reserve for Anthony Davis, but it's just weird for me to think that because Anthony Davis was injured, that's when Devin Booker became a reserve, even though I think he should have been there in the first place.
I definitely agree with that. I thought it was a complete joke that Devin Booker did not get in right away. I don't even think he was like Chris Paul. I would have had Chris Paul got in the All-Star game and well deserved, but still, he's not even the best player on his team. Booker should get in over Paul and some of the other players that were named reserves like right away. That's just plain disrespect.
I have a question. I'm wondering if you know this. Do the captains get to pick again? Do they get to pick their players?
Yes, they get to pick their players.
So does that mean Jason Tatum gets to pick the players?
He may. He may.
Okay. Here's what I pray that this man does not pull a Giannis. I want somebody to pass me the ball. Kemba Walker. I want to go with my brother.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Exactly. I remember that. He said, I want somebody to pass me the ball. You have James Harden and Kemba Walker. Why would you select Kemba Walker before you select one of the greatest shooters in the league, in James Harden? That's just terrible. Also, one other thing. On the East, I think it's a bit of an insult that James Harden became a reserve. I think you should have put the big three at the starters, and then maybe Bradley Beal could have been a reserve.
Really? You thought Bradley Beal could have been a reserve?
Yeah, I personally think that the Nets, when James Harden got on there, I think he's being completely overshadowed by Kevin Durant and Kyrie because once Harden went to the Nets, he's had a lot of triple doubles. He's also had a lot of double doubles with almost 30 points and a very, very nice amount of assists. So I think with that, I think he deserves to be a starter before Bradley Beal. Because even though Bradley Beal's a really good starter, I think Harden is up there as well. I think he's just lowering his skill ladder, I should say, so then the rest of his teammates can shine as well. Because if he was still on the Rockets, he'd probably be an all-star starter for sure. Because he'd have to break his back carrying the Rockets, dropping 40 a game and still losing to the Timberwolves.
That is a fair point. Continuing with the West, I thought Damian Lillard should have been the starter over Luka Doncic. I mean, Luka said it himself. He thought he shouldn't have gotten voted. Luka's an excellent player, but I thought it should have been Dame.
Pain.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Dame, honestly, he's one of the most underrated players in the league. The man is a beast. Year in and year out, he's averaging 25, 28, 29 points a game. He can pass the ball. He's unselfish. Portland's always in the playoff picture. He's one of the best shooters in the league, one of the best point guards in the league. He's an absolutely amazing player. Luka's an incredible player as well, an incredible talent. But I would have went with Dame.
Yeah, I definitely would have went with Dame. By the way, another thing about the All-Star game is how this year it's going to be different. Instead of it being an All-Star weekend, which I always like, because I want to see J. Cole try to get onto the Celebrity All-Star game again and absolutely fail. And I also like to see Kevin Hart play as well and try to shoot a layup. Okay. Anyway, he. Give me a second.
Kevin Hart shoot a layup. He probably can't even reach the hoops.
No, he can't even reach the hoop. No, he can't. I don't believe that man's 5'4".
Same.
That man's 5'4". But anyway, before the game, it's going to be a 3-point contest, and during the half, it's going to be doing a protest and skills challenge. So what do you think about that? Because personally, I want the halftime show to be Dame Dollar with his premium rap beats.
I'm not sure if I would want Dame Dollar because I think his music is straight trash, but I do disagree with the dunk contest being at halftime. That kind of defeats the point. I mean, Obi Toppin's going to be in it. I mean, I love Obi Toppin. I think he's a future star, on my New York Knicks, but obviously he's nowhere near, an all-star level, so why does he deserve, middle of the game, get to go out there and show up, all these other stars? They should have – I would have rather them put it, the day before, everything like the day before like they usually do. I mean, I understand not being able to have the full week because of COVID, but at the very least, have, the skills competition, the three-point and the dunk contest, at the very least, like, 3 or 4 hours before the game, at the very least.
It's going to be really, really exciting. Let me tell you that. But now it's time for the fun part. It's time for a weekly segment that we're going to be doing every Saturday. It's called You Hate to See It. So here's how it goes. I found some clips courtesy of House of Highlights. I'm going to do that tonight so then we don't get demonetized. I hope we don't get demonetized for copyright. But here's the thing. Out of 10, we're going to rate how much you hate to see it. So let me share my screen real quick. You gotta enable screen sharing, dude.
Up. Yeah, apparently because I'm the host.
And then you're the host.
Right.
Okay. We have enabled screen sharing. Okay. So let's find it right quick. Okay. Let's share the screen. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Oh, yes, I can.
A lot of pictures on here. I take a lot of pictures for communications. Ignore that. Okay, so first thing we're going to start off with is this one. So,
I know where this is going.
Watch the play. Okay, so Pascal gets the rebound. Does a little bit of a handle here. Gets a nice three-pointer. Can't complain. Show that camera there. We love to see it. Steph Curry steals and does the rare occasion of hitting a brick. But then this is where the best part comes in. So Kelly Oubre. We're gonna slow-mo on that real quick. in like we got a playback speed that. We got to like 0.5 that real quick. So Kelly Oubre from about 5 feet away. Wait. So look, so here we go. Grabs it, just cross body. Hits it. I mean, as a basketball player, you got to hit that. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate to see it?
I'm going to go with 8 on that one. I mean, the guy's like 6'6". It's a simple putback dunk, and this guy freaking all he's got to do is just go like this. He freaking threw it off the shot clock.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to give that an 8 too. Next clip. LeBron.
Oh, yeah.
It's the and one as LeBron does best, you know, because LeBron always has to get it. You know. So here he goes, Anthony Davis showing his support for LeBron. But then, if I move it forward a little bit more. Okay, nice slide, nice in. Nice inside right there. This is right here. So he has the chance to win the game right here. But guess what? LeBron James. And they end up losing this game in overtime against the Wizards. How much do you hate to see it?
Honestly, 0, just because I can't stand LeBron and he can't lose enough for me. So it's a 0.
Okay, fair enough. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. All right, next clip. Another highlight from this game. Here we go. Here we go. So LeBron doing LeBron things, holding the ball himself, gets it over. First things first, you'll love to see it. Because Robin Lopez is finally doing something right. He's actually giving some minor value to the team. But here we go. Passing it over to Westbrook. Yeah. Let's get a replay on that one real quick. Let's 0.5 that. Let's show off. Nice 3-lane right here. Let's watch the jump. Just over the moon.
Oh, my God.
How much do you hate to see it?
I'm going to go with 10. I mean, LeBron, you forced LeBron to turn the ball over. Robin Lopez actually didn't, completely screw up like the screw-up he is. Man, nice touch pass. Wide open lane. The easiest layup he's like. Russell Westbrook, one of the most athletic point guards in NBA history. Air balls a bunny? Are you kidding me, Russell Westbrook?
Yeah,
that's a 10. I don't know what to say.
I would go as far to say I loathe to see it. I don't just hate to see it. I have such discontent to see it. That's how much I hate to see it. Next clip. All right, so this one's a little long.
4 fouls in 10 minutes.
But there was a big foul here. And you're going to see why real quick. So, if I could find it right here, if they could show me a replay real quick. Let's do some counting for the team right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a 5, the 5th back here. I'm sorry, there's a 5th right here. That's Joe Ingles right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Too many men on the court?
Yeah, too many men on the court. I mean, what a rookie. I give that a 10 because that's just such a rookie mistake in basketball. Like, you'll never see that. I mean, you know, that is almost as rare as a flag in football towards a false score everyone but the center. Never see this. I'm giving this a 10.
I agree. I mean, it's basketball. Like, you can't start the game without 5 players. In football, yeah, you're making something that gets confusing. You know, in hockey, guys are coming over the boards, guys are coming, over the board. It can be confusing. But in basketball, you don't know how many people are on the court. 5 people. It's not that hard. Come on, Charlotte Hornets. Figure it's a Charlotte Hornets. 10 out of 10. You hate to see it.
Here, I don't think he knows what's going on.
A little bit.
He knows what's going on here.
Well, that was like I want to go back to Greece or wherever he used to play with.
Right here. Final clip. Here we go. If any unlucky thing is going to happen, it's going to happen to Westbrook. So here we go. So Spectrum Sportsnet Live is showing off, who's playing, who's the starting lineup. Now, here's the thing. Because you see all these players, you kind of understand, but for everybody who watches basketball, you know that this is not Russell Westbrook. So for poor Westbrook's sake, how much do you hate to see it?
I mean, I'm going to give it a 9. For you already checked with him, airbang the layout. But in the starting lineup, you can't. You pull a picture of Isaiah Thomas. who I don't even think is in the league. The guy hasn't been good in like 5 years. Are you kidding me? That is a complete joke. The Wizards have had a rough season. Why you gotta do them like that? 9 out of 10. You hate to see that.
I give it a 7 because it just would have been so much funnier if it said Isaiah Thomas. and then the announcer said, "Oh, it looks like Isaiah Thomas is back on the Wizards." Now that's an interesting story. I wonder where Westbrook is. We didn't hear anything about him getting injured. All right. So that is You Hate to See It. I hope you guys had a great time with this segment. We're going to be doing it every week. Don't worry about it. There's plenty more where this came from. But now we are on to our next segment. We're going to end off this podcast on a positive note. And it is called the Athlete of the Week. Jake and Justin's Athlete of the Week. So as you can see from our shared screen, our Athlete of the Week is, who is it, Jake? It's not.
It is Eldrick Tiger Woods. As you all know, Tiger Woods was involved in a very, very dangerous car crash the other day. He suffered 2 broken legs and a shattered ankle. He had successful surgery. He is doing well. His camp and his agent. You see how bad the crash is on Justin's screen. You see the car is literally flipped over on its side. They had to pry him out of the car. It was a crazy, very scary scene. I can't imagine what it's like for his wife and his children. He's got some young kids. His oldest kid, Charlie, is only 12 years old, and is a horrific thing. But he's doing well. He's alert. He's awake. The surgery went well, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery. I hope this is not the end of his career. But I hope he comes back good as ever and can continue playing golf at a high level, and maybe even make a run at tying Jack Nicklaus's record of 18 majors. He's 3 away from that.
Yeah, one thing that I look at this that I find really disturbing is that one piece of information is that this was a one-car crash. This was not because of a second car. This does not happen for no reason. I want to know what happened because apparently he wasn't intoxicated, but you don't do this sober. So you were either intoxicated or there was a malfunction in your car. That could have been the only issue, but I wish him the best of luck. I really hope he gets back on his feet, literally, and gets back on the golf course and wins some more titles.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more.
And that is our athlete. I'm muted again. Are we kidding? I did this like 3 times before we started to do a mic check. We just got muted again. But that is Jake and Justin's Athlete of the Week, another segment that is coming back every week with You Hate to See It. So be on the lookout for that every Saturday. And that is also the last thing of our podcast. So Jake, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much to everyone listening for watching our show. There's a lot more to come. Starting next week, we're going to try to have a special guest every single week. Who's going to be our first special guest? I'm not going to tell you. You got to watch the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Why would you tell me?
What's wrong with you? Come on, you got to watch the show.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week, same time, Saturday, 10:30 a.m. We should have a special guest. For now, peace out, and
thank you so much for watching the introductory episode of Jake and Justin in the Morning, and enjoy the rest of your beautiful Saturday morning.